Hello everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Is It Imba, Do or Suck? Today we're going to have a look at a PvZ game. Let me read the email that I got. Hello Kevin, I want to be your next IODIS. I'm currently at 3.7k MMR TOS and I'm very aware I do mistakes. I do a few F2 and I'm still on my way to completely remove it. Today I faced a 3.5k Zerg having a very poor macro. The drone count was smaller than his IQ and my probe count. That guy kept sending his army, Roach, Hydra and won. We're supposed to be at a very close level to each other, at least for our macro. I ended up being very poor in gas, so be on charge slots, blah 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 blah. I do think that Roach Hydra is a bit overpowered in that kind of scenario for a race that is supposed to build up a bank and have good macro to constantly remax with a minor micro, unlike Terran and TOS. Let me know if I'm at least a bit right or I do suck. Well, let's find that out now, shall we? We're gonna be following Detective Care. But the real detective is us, of course. Not only me, but also the community. We look at this game. We have a look. You know, is there a lot of big mistakes? Or is perhaps the Zerg race indeed just too good? It is possible. Now, MMR's between 3.5 and 3.7. Protoss 3.7k MMR. And the Zerg 3.5. I'm not sure what league that is. Maybe Platinum or something. Gold. I don't know. Somewhere around there, I guess. Somewhere between gold and diamond. One of the three. Now we have actually a standard opening here for Detective Kerr, who is playing a proper one-gate expand. You know, the Cybercore on time, the gases on time, the pylon, everything on time. On the other hand, we have Ilu. I assume at least the first one is a capital I. Ilu is playing just the standard hatch first into speed. Should be taking a third base soon with this drone. So yeah, the game actually looks good. Looks like these guys so far know what they're doing. Stargate opener here for Detective Kerr as well. I'm a happy man. Whenever I get these kind of replays, I'm always afraid we're gonna have like a 5-gate opener or something and then losing. But now this is a proper game, you know. We can actually get to the bottom of this. Me and Detective Kerr and the rest of you guys watching. So you see 4 links being sent across the map. Now, in this kind of case, you kind of want to cancel the adapt so you can keep chasing these links. And you just kind of want to kite them in a way, right? So you shoot once, you run away. You shoot once, you run away. And then very easily you'll be able to kill 4 links. And the Zerg also wouldn't have minded as he tried to attack the adapt, which definitely is a mistake. So there's no real scout now because of this. Detective Kerr doesn't know if there's a third base. Instead we'll be sending this adapt back across the map. Not a massive fan of it, but usually what you do is, if you can't get any info, then you know you kind of accept it. But sending an adapt across the map at this time means that if he gets a lot of links and his speed finishes, you're just gonna be losing your adapt for free. And that's something none of us of course want. And that's exactly what's gonna happen now. Like you hardly get any information here, and well, most of the time, you cancel. Well, you lose the adapt at least. That's the most important thing here. That's the punchline of this story basically, is that don't do that. After 3 minutes, you don't want to be moving out on the map anymore with any kind of... This is bad. So, stasis wards cost 50 energy and can be triggered by a single link. It's just better, and they don't even kill them. It just delays your problems. So that's why you always, defensively, you always want to be using your stasis, no, not stasis ward, your pulsar beam, rather than stasis ward. It's just not good. You're also not putting on any pressure to your opponent if you put a stasis ward at home. Like, all of these mineral lines are completely empty. Actually, Detective Kerr did a good job keeping his oracles a secret, and there's almost no anti-air. There's 3 queens, now a 4th queen. So if he would have gone to the other side of the map, he probably would have been able to kill a lot of workers. But the stasis ward at home actually gives away that there is oracles. And if this Zerg was a little bit competent, he would now be building drones. Instead, we see a lair and a road farm. So the build... What is this? So he's going into 4-gate, Robo, Forged Twilight. Now, in this matchup, what you need to do is you need to actually get a third base at some point. For a lot of, or for some lower level processes, this might come as a surprise, but you can't actually 2-base all the way. Or you can try, but it doesn't work quite as well. So what you want to do is once you get 2 gates and a robo, then you get the third base, and then you add the Forge and the Twilight. You don't first get the Forge, Twilight, the Gateways, the Immortal. Like, all of this just delays your economy by so much. Like, you could be killing 5-7 workers as well at this point. Actually, way more. There's only a single queen here. Like, we have seen absolutely no oracle control. Like, Detective Kerr is practically sleeping at this point with his oracles. Now, he comes in, and all you need to do is you right-click the drone, and then you move forward. You right-click the drone, and you move forward. I actually think he would have been able, if he microed this semi-well, to get at least 8 to 9 workers. With a single oracle, usually you can get 6. If there's only a single queen in those, or 5. 6 is pushing it a bit. Now, I also like to make everyone aware that Detective Kerr has done 0 scouting whatsoever. Just now he got aware that there is a third base. He doesn't know if there's a lair, doesn't know if there's extra gases, doesn't know if there's roaches on the way. Now he is building more immortals, which is nice. His opponent has no workers, which is also good, but it always helps to know what your opponent is doing, of course. This is absolutely not going to be working, this roach push. Detective Kerr once again is... I'm not quite sure what he's doing. Like, he should be either using the oracles to defend or using the oracles aggressively, but he's not really doing anything right now with them. He's not scouting, he's not doing any damage, just staying home. Now, this push is gonna do absolutely nothing. It's just not a good push. You know, it's too little roaches, there's too many immortals. Pretty decent micro here by Detective Kerr. And here come the oracles. Now, at this point he's up 11 workers. Another problem is though that he has no clue that he's up 11 workers. Like, what you want to be doing is you want to be scouting your opponent. You want to be counting gases. That's one of my many hobbies. It's just counting gases of the Zerg player and going, alright, he's on 4 gas. Probably means he doesn't have enough drones, because if Zerg has enough drones and enough income, usually they're going to go up to 6 gas. They want to get a 4th base as soon as possible. So the moment you've been counting these gases and you see, hey, wait a second, there's only 4 gases, probably means he is doing something aggressive to me. You want to get a lot of units out, you want to add gateways. Right now Detective Kerr is floating 1100 minerals. These roaches somehow managed to get in here. I'm not sure why there's only 2 immortals. He's floating 1400 minerals. He has 4 gates available. Like, he could also throw down like a cannon and a battery, you know? Like, if you have 1800 minerals, you can literally do anything that you want. Decides to not chase with the rest of the army. It's a very strange game, honestly. One guy doesn't build any drones. The other one just doesn't build anything in general. 2 oracles are still alive. A bit out of energy, makes sense. Now, the moment you have a lot of money, there's 2 things you can do. You can pretend that you don't have a lot of money, or you can make a plan to start spending it. The majority of the time I'd say it's better to actually start spending it. So add 4 or 5 gateways. And people always say, well, I see professional players, you know, they only use like 6 gateways at this point. Well, that's cool. But if you were a professional player, you wouldn't be floating 3k resources at the 8-minute mark. Like, if you're floating 3k resources, perhaps, you know, copying the start of professional players is good, but the rest just add more gateways, you know. If you don't have macro, then you just add more gateways. I mean, it's a little late, 9 minutes in, adding 6 gateways, but better late than never is what I always say. So actually Kerr is, you know, except for the bad macro, losing the immortals in a weird way, and no static defense for a very long time on his 3rd, he's not doing that bad of a job. He's also not really scouting. So in his mind, his opponent is still on a single gas. And only on roaches. No clue that there is double evo either, even though by clicking on the units he would be able to figure that out. Now, the way you want to play as Protoss in general is you want to get Immortals, you want to get Storm. And you want to get Archons as well. But especially against Roach Hydra, Immortal Storm is absolutely beautiful. Archons aren't as beautiful, but still a little bit beautiful. So you can build them as well. But majority of the time, Storm Immortals is what's going to win you the game. Now, we see what happens as a Protoss when you have 0 map vision whatsoever and you keep your complete army in a ball. You have no clue when your opponent's gonna attack you. I mean, this army is absolutely tiny, right? It's what, 16 Roaches and 5 Hydras. Now there's 5 Immortals and there's a bunch of sentries. Like, that's definitely going to be enough. The problem is, look at this, Detective Kerr. Last saw him here and he moves over here. Now he's like, well, I hope he's gonna come over here because I have absolutely 0 vision. Does spot his opponent's army. And also sees that there's tunneling claws. Don't forget, you can see when tunneling claws has been researched by the claws popping up on the back. Now, Detective Kerr sees his opponent's army move to the bottom side and is like, this sounds like the perfect time to move on the map. Of course, no knowledge whatsoever of the position he is in, because the last time he scouted his opponent was at the 2-minute mark. It's like literally anything could be happening right now. His opponent could have 85 workers, hive on the way, Greater Spire basically done, you know? This could be an actual realistic scenario. Another scenario is that his opponent has 63 workers and is practically all in. If you know your opponent is practically all in, all you need to do is defend. Like, you just build like 12 stasis wards here, you sit, and you do absolutely nothing. Like, if there's no hive, and your opponent is on Roach Hydra, and you have Archon Immortal Storm, why the hell would you move out? All you need to do is sit on your pretty butt, and make sure that nothing happens. You know, just kill the game, basically. Until you see him start tacking into something else, or until you hit max supply with +3 upgrades, and you can be like, okay, now it's time for me to attack. Instead he moves out, Roach counterattack actually doesn't do that much damage. So once again, this is honestly looks pretty good. His opponent is now going for hive. Now of course our friend Detective Kerr is completely unaware of that. We haven't seen any pressure from him, not a single zealot run by, no prism in the main. There hasn't been any defense in the main, there hasn't been any defense at the third base. Really the only map vision he gets is if he accidentally builds 2 pylons too far forward, or if he A moves across the map with F2. Now how do I know it's F2? It's because the oracles are in the group as well. Oh no, it's not F2, there's a unit in the wall. Maybe he just warped it in. We'll see how long this bad boy will remain. So it means he just has everything in one control group. This is gonna be a hell of a lot of fun to control. Now, this fight should be the absolute easiest fight in the world. He has Storm, Immortal, Archon against Roach Hydra. I actually think if he would have A-moved that engagement, he would have just straight up won that fight. Now I'm not super sure anymore because he lost a little bit of supply. Once again, floating 4k minerals though. So, yeah, adds 5 gateways. I don't actually mind him adding extra gateways. I think that isn't even bad. Like, you know, people always make fun, oh, you have so much money, you could just be using your actual gateways. But if you're bad at macro, adding gateways isn't that bad. Like, it's a completely fine thing to do. Now, here we go, once again, Detective Kerr with the ultimate blindman plays. Just doesn't scout whatsoever, moves forward on the map. No spells are being used, no force fields. There is no storms available currently, so that can be used. But no force field is really painful against Roach Hydra, obviously. Because Roach Hydra is an army that can't do much against force fields. If there was Ravagers or Banes, you know, Banes usually still be able to slip through. But Roach and Hydras, if you just cast 3 force fields, like, you split the army, not even in half or in a third, just anything really. And you're just going to be able to kind of win. Now 3-3 is on the way for Ilu, +3 is already done for Detective Kerr, who isn't continuing upgrades. I mean, he has a nice army. He does have a couple of storms right now. So 1 storm, 2 storm. These are fine storms and Ilu will need to go back home. Couple of couple of Stargates are being built right now. Probably will need the gases here saturated. Another thing you can do, by the way, is just adding more cannons and batteries if you're floating a lot of minerals. I don't understand. The one thing I don't understand is how it's possible to play in a way where you actually have 0 information. Like, this has to be so scary. Like, this is the kind of guy that complains about Mutalisk as well. It's like, I was just walking, you know, just like playing StarCraft, and my opponent Roaches and Hydras, and then all of a sudden 35 Mutas showed up, and I had no clue. Like, I had a cannon at one of my bases, but yeah, I just wasn't ready for it. It's like, yeah, well, like, maybe a scout every now and then, you know, just even harassment is fine, because harassment also scouts. Now, this fight on creep, with no reinforcements, with only 2 storms in your army, was, I actually think, this fight was more difficult to lose than to win. I could simulate like 100 different scenarios, and I think there would be maybe 4 scenarios where you lose, and 2 of those scenarios are you move commanding into the opponent. One of the scenarios is accidentally attacking all of your own High Templar before the fight starts, and the 4th scenario is what Detective Kerr just did over here. I have absolutely no clue how it's possible to fight in such a way where you make Immortals look weak against Roaches. That takes a very special kind of skill which Detective Kerr seems to have in abundance. Because fight after fight, he just manages to absolutely get the worst out of his units. Like, his army has honestly been looking good, even though his macro sucks. He has no clue what his opponent is doing. Like I actually feel like just A-moving a lot of the time would just be better than what he's doing. He's doing the negative micro, which is where you do an action of controlling your units, and it turns out worse than what it would have been if you would have just done nothing. You know, just having his army on hold position, I think majority of the time would just be better than the stuff he's doing. Like any of the commands, the stop command, the A-move command, or the hold position command would be better than what he's been doing, which I still am not quite sure what we're seeing here. Now, this game, you could be like, well, he's lost like every single fight he's ever fought. How is he still in the game, Detective Kerr? Yeah, that's a good question. It's because his opponent is on 60 workers. He's just maxing Roach Hydra with sick upgrades. I gotta give Berserk this. 3-3. All you need to do as Pros player, just wait till you're maxed, get Storm in working. You can add carriers all you want, but you probably are gonna need upgrades on your carriers. Like, this is a mistake people make as well. They'll be like, carrier is a tier 3 unit, Roach is a tier 1 unit. So carriers kill Roaches fast, right? That's how it's supposed to work. No, you have 0 upgrades on your carriers. And the other guy has 3 armor upgrades. Like, carriers are gonna do like 2 damage per shot on the Roach. Like, the majority of your damage needs to come from Immortals and your Storms. I can't believe he's actually losing to Ultras without any melee upgrades. This... I'm actually a bit upset. Like, the thoughts by Detective Kerr here weren't too bad, you know? Like honestly, like the army composition, the countering, well, that's it basically. The early game was nice, you know. He did a good job there. He built his buildings. He built, well, just mainly his buildings. Not too many moves, floating a bit, but you know, he built buildings in almost the correct order majority of the time. At least for the game. Let me put it like that. The first 3.5 minutes were almost flawless, if you don't count forgetting to build probes every now and again. So the problem was just really the point from 3.5 minutes on to, well, the end of the game is where everything he did made very little sense, happened very slowly, and completely blind. Look, this is what I mean. Like, carriers don't do a lot of damage to trust people. Plus 300. How can you handle that as tools? No, why would you complain in the game? I don't know, bro. Zerg Bank is remax, your opponent was broke. He had 57 workers. Yeah, this guy actually won because of upgrades. Look at the units lost. You had a way bigger bank, you mined way more. You lost 15k more in an 18-minute game. Upgrades aren't the issue. No, the carriers with +0 against the +3 armor Hydras. Upgrades weren't the issue. In one way, Detective Kerr is right. Like, upgrades weren't the issue. It was just one of the many issues in this game, but it wasn't the issue, you know? Like, actually getting the issue in this game is impossible because there were so many mistakes. Now, the question was, is Roach Hydra remax imbalanced? I have no clue because we haven't seen Roach Hydra remax. This guy never remaxed. He was on 57 workers majority of the game. He had 0 eco. You mined like 20k more, maybe 30k more this game. You spend it all, you lost it. Your army control was so bad. You didn't use a single force field. Guardian shield was never used. You almost never used storms. Your immortals were always at the front of an engagement, which by default they moved to the back. So you must have microed them to the front somehow. I'm not even sure how this is possible. The way you took engagement just hurts my soul. Your scouting was absolutely awful. You actually didn't even know if he had a lair. The only reason you knew he had a lair was because you saw Hydras. The only reason you knew he had a hive was because you saw Ultras. It's like, that's not how you scout what your opponent is doing. Like, you want to anticipate what their units are going to be. You don't want to be like, oh, Hydras. Oh, that's nice. No. You see the layer, you see the Hydra, and it's like, oh, it's Hydralisk. How many drones is this? How many gas does he have? Like, many questions that you can answer by checking his base. But no, you F2, or I don't even think you F2. You just put this is the worst part. If you F2, it's kind of like, okay, you know, you F2s. Like, I can see why everything is in one control group, but you make the conscious decision of putting your Oracle and your Phoenix in the same control group as your Templar and your Sentry. Like, what do you want me to say to this? Yeah, Roach Hydra is very broken. No, my friend, Roach Hydra is not very broken. Your micro sucked. Your first 3 minutes were fantastic. No, I've been trying to put in a compliment every now and again. People have been saying I've been mean, but first 3 minutes, yeah, we're good. That's nice. After that, scouting sucked, fighting sucked, macro was absolutely atrocious. Map vision, like, you didn't have any, so I can't even comment on it. Like, if this was one of those forms, I would have to write not applicable. Like, you just didn't have map vision. Roach Hydra, 3/3 upgrades. I believe it can be difficult to deal with. If you're, you know, if there's lots of multitask going on, we have a Zerg with 80, 85 workers, it can be difficult. This guy was on 16 workers. He didn't once multitask or run by. He did straight up engagement. This is absolutely the worst style that there is by Zerg. And you just sucked. You just sucked. You did nothing correct. You were a bad player. Now don't send me no more emails. Alright. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you did enjoy this episode. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. It does help me a lot. Watch some of my other Imba or Do I Suck if you liked it. I had a sick video yesterday where I hallucinate my entire army. Well, not my entire army. Big parts of my army beating Grandmaster with Stupid Stuff, I think the series is called. So I'll link that in some here as well at the end, so you can have a look at that. I thought it was cool. Thanks everyone for watching, and see you all next time for a new episode of whatever day it is. Bye bye.